Welcome to the 2025-2026 Volleyball Online Rules module. My name is Jason Nickleby and I am the Director of the Officiating Program. I will be narrating the first and last administrative portions of this module. We will now cover some general information and then follow it with volleyball specific information before moving on to the rules changes for 2025-2026. We will also cover the editorial changes and the points of emphasis from the MSHSL as well as the league for this year, and then we will conclude this module with a review of several administrative items. Please note that air quality information was put into the league's policy last year. Also note that air quality is only a recommendation relative to whether a contest should be played or not. That is a recommendation and it's up to the host school to make a determination on whether we will continue with participation. We will continue with the concept of a pre-contest administrative and medical timeout during the 2025-2026 season. This meeting will take place approximately 10 minutes before the contest begins and will hopefully be led by a site administrator. The meeting will cover sportsmanship, what to do with a challenging situation such as unruly spectators or other disruptions, as well as medical emergency planning. We hope this meeting will get administrators, coaches, and officials on the same page going into their respective contest. Please note that the pre-contest timeout is not a required meeting. It's strongly recommended that schools do this. We believe it is best practice, but again, it is not required. We are all going to be in a better spot if we discuss where is the AED, who's going to call 911, what do we do if there's inclement weather and we have to seek shelter, how do we address spectators that are challenging, who's responsible for getting officials to and from locker rooms, all those kinds of things. We're going to just be in a much better spot if we discuss those things prior to the contest. And we're recommending that officials, when you contact the school to let them know that you will be at an event, ask the school, the administrative assistant, the AD, if they plan to hold a pre-contest timeout, and if so, you plan to be there. You don't have to have any active role in the meeting, you're just going to listen, and coaches don't really have an active role in that either. They're just going to listen to the administrator talk about who's responsible for what so that everyone is on the same page as we go into the contest. It is never acceptable for a coach to be ejected from a contest. You are responsible for modeling respectful behaviors at all times. Should a coach be ejected from a contest, they are ineligible to coach or play the remainder of games scheduled for that day and must sit out the next date as well. So in the case of volleyball, if you are ejected from a Thursday match and you have a Saturday tournament, you are out of all of the Saturday tournament matches. This suspension must be enforced by the school whether or not the school has received an ejection report. This is the responsibility of the head coach. A violation of this rule results in a forfeit. A second ejection in the same season results in a 4-game suspension. Ejections may not be appealed. As you can see on the slide, a coach that has been suspended may not have access to the locker room, be seated or spectate in an area near the bench, or ride the bus to or from the contest. Obviously, if a coach is ejected from an away contest, they can ride the bus back to the school, but they must leave the competition area if they are ejected from the contest. We don't have very many ejections in volleyball, and that's great, but we do have several situations where behavior has crossed the line and cards are warranted. And again, the expectation is that coaches will model the proper behavior for their players as well as the spectators at the contest. Athletes have similar consequences as coaches when they are ejected from a contest. They are ineligible to play in any games or contests scheduled for the remainder of that date and must sit out the next contest that occurs after the date of the offense. This suspension must be enforced whether or not your school has received an ejection report. The head coach, again, is responsible for ensuring compliance with this bylaw. A violation of this rule results in a forfeit. A second ejection in the same season results in a 4-game suspension. Ejections may not be appealed. An athlete that is suspended during the regular season may travel with the team and occupy the bench area, but may not be in uniform. If an athlete is ejected during a contest, whether it's the regular season or the postseason, they shall remain in the bench area under the supervision of a coach. If they choose to leave on their own with coach supervision, that is up to them, but they are not to be directed to the locker room. They are to stay in the bench area under the supervision of a coach. An athlete that is suspended during the postseason may not be in uniform, may not occupy the bench area, and may not participate in the awards ceremony or receive awards. Again, obviously, if an athlete is ejected from an away contest, they may stay in the bench area in uniform and ride the bus home. But after that, if this was the postseason, they would not be able to travel with the team or be in the bench area. So this is something that we should know for the postseason. Again, does not happen very often in volleyball, which is awesome. Let's keep up the good work in that regard. And as coaches and officials, let's work together to provide the best environment for the participants. As a reminder, if a coach, parent, or other concerned party has an eligibility question such as chemical or behavior issues, should direct those questions to the activities director. Even if a volleyball player is ineligible, the officials are not ruling on those matters, and all inquiries involving bylaws or policy violations should be directed to the activities director of the school involved.
Hello, my name is Christina Febeck. I'm the Minnesota State High School League Metro Rules Interpreter and Head Trainer. I will be covering this year's rules changes and points of emphasis. Beginning next year, in the 2026-27 school year, NFHS has decided state associations may adopt the use of non-smoothed or textured volleyballs. There will be no NFHS restriction on color or shape of panels for textured volleyballs. Minnesota will continue to have ball requirements for varsity play. We want to make it clear that for girls volleyball in Minnesota this season, we are still requiring an 18-panel smooth volleyball in light blue, gray, and white color scheme with the NFHS mark. Sub-varsity contest must use an 18-panel smooth ball. While the varsity ball is preferred, there are no color restrictions or mark requirements for sub-varsity contest. In the upcoming spring 2026 Minnesota boys season, we will continue to use the textures red, white, and blue swirl pattern ball for all varsity contests. No NFHS mark will be required this season. While the varsity ball is preferred, there are no texture, color restriction, or mark requirements for sub-varsity contests. If athletes wear a visible undergarment, it can now be black, white, gray, or match the predominant color of the uniform. All team members other than the libero sporting visible undergarments must wear matching colors. If a regular player is wearing a visible undergarment, it must match the color of undergarment worn by all other regular players wearing an undergarment. The libero may wear a different color visible undergarment. Just remember, if the libero becomes a regular player in a subsequent set, they will need to remove the undergarment or change to match their teammates. Compression sleeves do not have to match teammates or the uniform color. Visible undergarments, like tights, must match the corresponding uniform color or be black, white, or gray, and all regular teammates must match. The libero may be different. Beginning in the 2029 season, the number on the front of the uniform must be centered on the upper half of the uniform top, eliminating the measurement requirements from the shoulder seam and neckline. If you are ordering new uniforms, please be sure to follow this rule. Numbers not centered on the upper half of the uniform top will be illegal beginning with the 2029 season. When a team cannot begin the match with 6 players wearing legal uniforms, a loss of rally point shall be awarded to the opponent at the beginning of the match, and the state association shall be notified. The NFHS has caught up with what Minnesota has already implemented. This rulesbook change eliminates the requirement for second referees to carry and use a lineup card to check the starting lineups. Officials should use each coach's submitted lineup sheet to check the starting lineup. Newer officials can still use lineup cards as a training tool, but remember, at the beginning of each set, you will check the lineup on the court with the coach's lineup sheet. It is optional for an R2 to use a lineup card. At the beginning of each set, the R2 must check the lineup using the coach's lineup sheet, even if an R2 chooses to use a lineup card. Newer officials may use a lineup card to help track rotation, but veteran officials should be able to identify rotation patterns and, with the assistance of the score table, identify correct service order. Regardless of whether or not the second referee is using a lineup card, the R2 must look to confirm that the scorer has recorded all substitutions. If both teams have substitution requests in the same dead ball, the second referee should use eye contact and hold up a low hand to indicate to the substitute to wait. Once the athletes are stopped, drop your hand to complete the opposing team's request and entry. As the sport of volleyball has evolved, the rules of the game have adapted to allow multiple contacts in a single attempt to a teammate. The first referee should only judge the length of time a ball is in contact with a body part. Whistle a catch and throw when necessary, but let the ball fly otherwise. MSHS is following the NCAA by eliminating doubles to a teammate if the second contact is a single attempt to play the ball and the ball is next contacted by a teammate. This allows for play to continue when multiple contacts on the second team contact did not create an advantage for the offending team. Prolonged contact and multiple attempts to play the ball are still faults. First referees must still judge the contact on every second team hit to determine its legality before watching to see where the ball goes next. Play pick A illustrates as long as the double is next played by a teammate, it is legal. Play pick B shows how, if the double crosses over the net or is next played by an opponent, it becomes a fault. If during one attempt to play the ball on a team's second hit, a setter mishandles the ball and an opponent is the next to contact the ball, a multiple contact fault has occurred. The referee should whistle and signal double. A player that makes the team's second or third contact with both hands and sends the ball over the net to the opponent must play the ball cleanly with no discernible multiple contacts. If there is prolonged contact, the R1 needs to whistle and signal catch throw. If the team has multiple contacts on the second hit and the ball is next played by an opponent, the first referee needs to whistle and signal double. If a player contacts the ball multiple times during one attempt to play the ball on a team's second hit, and players from both teams next contact the ball at the same time in the plane of the net, the contact is legal and play continues. This means if a setter doubles a ball and sends it into the plane, the referee must be focused on the next contact. One of three things can occur. 1. The contact between opponents in the plane is simultaneous and play continues. 2. Contact by the attacking team is first and play continues. Or 3. Contact by the blocking team is first and a delayed double is whistled on the setter. Penalty for an illegal libero replacement that occurs before the contact of serve is now an unnecessary delay. If a late libero exchange occurs after the whistle and beckon for serve, but before the service contact, blow your whistle and assess the offending team an unnecessary delay. Once this is recorded, whistle and beckon for serve again. If an illegal libero replacement occurs after contact of serve, it is an illegal alignment fault. So if a libero replacement isn't complete before service, or if the exchange is very late and occurs completely after contact of serve, a legal alignment is the call. Next, we're going to go over 4 scenarios regarding the new libero replacement rule. Scenario 1 starts by getting everyone on the same page. The goal of the referee crew and coaches should be preventative whenever possible. If the R1 realizes that the libero is rotating to the front row, but the replacement hasn't happened yet, Give that team an additional beat before whistling and beckoning for serve so that they can complete the replacement. If the coach realizes there is confusion and needs a quick moment to fix the team, it may be a good option to request a lineup check from the R2. The R2 should also recognize there may be an issue and be available to the coach to assist with a requested lineup check. Scenario 1 dealt with preventing potentially late but legal replacements. Unfortunately, we can't always prevent a problem and have to sanction. Scenario 2 deals with the wrong player returning to the court for the libero. If an incorrect libero replacement is noted by the libero tracker and/or the R2 before the whistle and beckon for serve, the R2 should whistle and signal delay with the appropriate card on the side of the team at fault. If the R1 initiates the delay, the R2 does not repeat the signal. The R2 fixes the incorrect libero replacement by putting the correct player on the court. The R1 will explain to the captain, and the R2 will notify the head coach and ensure that the scorer has recorded the delay properly. In scenario 3, we have a wrong player replacing the libero, which is caught after the authorization for serve, but before service contact. Or the libero leaves the court and the replacement player enters the court after the authorization for serve, but before the contact of serve. In either case, the R1 or R2 will whistle to stop play and issue an unnecessary delay, yellow card to the wrist. If it is the wrong player, fix the replacement. If it is the correct player, but the replacement was late, allow them to finish the replacement. If this is the second delay in the same set, issue a delay penalty, red card to the wrist. The R1 will ensure the captain is aware of the sanction. The R2 will notify the head coach and ensure the scorers have recorded the delay properly. The R1 will then beckon again for serve. Scenario 4 deals with a late replacement or illegal replacement that is discovered after both the authorization for serve and the service contact. If a late replacement is completed after the contact of serve or an illegal replacement is discovered after contact of serve, the R1 or R2 should whistle to interrupt the rally and signal illegal alignment on the offending team. Award a point to the opponent. The next slides address editorial changes. Glitter and body paint are illegal. This change clarifies what happens when a team has attempted to remove glitter or body paint but can't get it all off. If removal is unsuccessful to the point that there aren't 6 legal players, the same penalty used for illegal uniforms applies. A loss of rally point awarded to the opponent at the beginning of the match, and the Minnesota State High School League shall be notified by the referees in an after-match report. The league will determine further action or penalty as deemed necessary. Changes to 424C and 7.1 are clarifications based on previously discussed rules changes. MSHSL has given R1s the right to keep line judges on the same side throughout the match, even if teams are not switching sides. Minnesota will not be doing this. For all MSHSL varsity contests, teams will not be switching sides between sets. Line judges, however, will switch between each set. We recommend that this is also done during all sub-varsity contests. I will now discuss the 2025 NFHS points of emphasis. NFHS volleyball rules require the libero jersey to clearly contrast from the team jersey, and the body of the uniform number must clearly contrast from the uniform top. These rules are in place to assist officials in quickly identifying the libero as well as player numbers. Please see the MSHSL uniform guidance document that describes what color combinations clearly contrast. Here are some tips for selecting color combinations. If the uniform is light colored, such as white, the body of the number should be dark or even black. If the jersey is dark, the body of the number should be light or even white. Avoid too many colors on the team jersey as it limits the colors for a legal libero jersey and uniform number. Uniform questions come up every year. There's a uniform PowerPoint in the Minnesota State High School League Central Hub. Please make sure you review it if you have questions after reviewing these next few slides. When dealing with uniforms, you must first determine a dominant color. When one predominant color can be established, any of the accents colors, if clearly contrasting, can be used as the predominant color of the Libero uniform top. We'll look at some examples here in a moment. And in all scenarios, when there is more than one prevailing uniform color, both colors are to be determined as dominant colors, and neither should be used as the predominant color of the Libero uniform. Minnesota State High School League has provided the following additional guidelines for uniforms. The colors in column A are considered dark. The colors in column B are considered light. When applying this guideline to volleyball, athletic directors and coaches must understand how this works. If your regular player uniform is from column A, the number on that uniform must be from column B, and the number cannot be from the same color family. For example, you could not put a light blue number on a royal blue or navy jersey. In the same manner, if a regular player is in the color from column A, the Libero jersey must be a color from column B. Black regular player jerseys and royal blue or red Libero jerseys are no longer allowed by the Minnesota State High School League. Like royal blue and red, Kelly green is a common school color. Medium greens have been deemed dark colors and fall into category A. Teams cannot use a dark or medium green Libero jersey and a black regular team uniform, and they cannot put a medium or dark green number on a black jersey. If a school has dark colored jerseys with dark numbers, they may be worn for sub-varsity contest, but are no longer legal for varsity contest. Since the uniform on the left has one predominant color, black, any contrasting color on that jersey could be used as the predominant color of the Libero uniform, and black can be used as an accent color if you wish. So your regular players could wear the black, and your Libero could wear the orange, and those uniforms would be compliant. The team jersey in the middle has two predominant colors, a light blue and a navy. Neither of those colors could be used as the Libero jersey. So the middle team jersey would be compliant if the jersey on the left, the white jersey, was being used, but it would be non-compliant if the Libero was wearing the jersey on the right. The team jersey in the middle has two predominant colors, lime green and navy blue. So the jersey on the left would not be compliant if worn by the Libero. However, the jersey on the right would be compliant and could be legally worn by the Libero. Although the body of these uniforms are light and dark, they are not compliant because it's too difficult for the referees to quickly see the difference during play when the players are intermixing on the court. Mirror image uniforms should be avoided. From match to match, factors like gym lighting, sweat on the jerseys, and individual officials' ability to distinguish between colors can impact contrast decisions when determining jersey compliance between the regular players and the Libero. If officials ask if you have a different Libero jersey option, please comply immediately without comment. A non-compliant Libero jersey means that the Libero is not allowed to play in the match. The team must find a compliant jersey if they want to play with a Libero. Officials should review the uniforms for legality during warm-up. If an illegal uniform is identified, both officials should agree there is a problem, then notify the head coach about the illegal uniform or uniforms. If the team cannot fix the problem, and they are unable to field 6 players in legal uniforms to start the match, a single loss of rally point shall be awarded to the opponent at the beginning of the match regardless of the total number of legal uniforms, and the Minnesota State High School League shall be notified. Also notify your local assigner. The goal is to allow teams to compete provided there is no safety concerns and allow the state office to work with the school to correct the issue. We will now review this year's Minnesota points of emphasis. During play, the head coach may stand on their respective side anywhere in the blue as illustrated by this mechanigram as long as they are 6 foot from the sideline of the court during a rally. Assistant coaches must remain seated during play. During dead balls, the head coach and one assistant coach may approach the sideline. The assistant coach may only instruct their team. They may not speak to the officials or officiating crew. During dead balls, the head coach and one assistant coach may approach the sideline. The assistant coach may only instruct their team. They may not speak to the officials or officiating crew. While most coaches like the new coaching box rules, some frustration came with the bench celebration rules that accompanied it. The biggest misconception is that coaches felt their substitutes were not allowed to stand and cheer at all. That is incorrect. Substitutes may stand during dead balls to cheer, but they must stay near their bench. That means at least 6 foot from the sideline. The yellow area above shows where the substitutes could cheer from. There should be no rushing the sideline or standing before the ball is dead. Additionally, the MSHSL Tournament Committee asked that negative cheering be avoided. While it's part of a rally sport to cheer when your team causes an opponent error, excessive cheering approaching taunting has been displayed by some teams on net serves or blatant ball handling errors. Normal excitement at a side-out point is fine. Coaches, please be aware of anything that crosses the line and address it with your team. Scorers across the state love teams who help facilitate accurate and efficient substitutions by keeping their numbers visible. During a substitution, coaches should train the outgoing player to stand closest to the net and the ingoing player to stand closest to the sideline. The play pick on the left illustrates how both players' numbers are easily visible to the score table and R2. The play pick on the right shows how the ingoing player screens the outgoing player's numbers from the table when the preferred technique is not used. Coaches, expect your athletes to do this correctly, especially the varsity team. While the officials will remind athletes to do this at the beginning of the season, please do not make this something the officials need to address. This change is being made to help school staff who are running your tables. Please be respectful of them and help make their job easier. Reports tell us they appreciate it. We continue to have reports of teams not immediately clearing the court at the end of their warm-up session, which results in a safety issue when one team is hitting or serving while the other is running on. In order to better facilitate this switch of possessions between the two teams, the R2 gives a double tweet warning whistle 15 seconds prior to the horn. This also gives teams the opportunity to shag balls as a show of sportsmanship during the last few seconds of their court time. This has been a Minnesota protocol for several seasons now. Please ensure you are following it. The second referee shall use a double whistle when 15 seconds are left on the timeout countdown clock and when 30 seconds are left between sets in order to warn teams that timeouts or intermissions are about to end and they need to return to the court. Timeouts and intermissions between sets should end with a horn. If a timeout ends early because both teams have returned to the court and coach instruction has finished, the R2 still needs to double whistle, then the scoreboard operator will immediately blow the horn while the official shows the number of timeouts remaining. The only time a horn might not be used to end a timeout or intermission is when multiple courts are going on in the same facility. In that case, a single long whistle can be used by the R2 to replace the horn. This helps avoid any confusion that might be caused by horns constantly going off or if a court is using a flip score and doesn't have a horn. In Minnesota, if a coach wants the officials to review a decision based on what they believe is an incorrect application of a rule or incorrect sanction applied, they do so by appealing to the R2 during the dead ball immediately following the decision. The coach should never cross the court to the R1 stand. The R2 will share the concern from the coach with the R1, and if the decision is not judgment related but is a rules question, the head coach will request and be granted a timeout to allow the R1 and R2 to go to the score table and find the rule reference. If the rule's interpretation by the referee is found to be incorrect, the result or sanction is corrected. This usually means the point goes to the other team or a replay. The team is not charged the timeout they requested for the decision to be reviewed. However, if the rule's interpretation is correct, then the original decision prevails and the team is charged with the requested timeout. Coach is out of timeouts, they can still request a decision review. The best practice for the R2 is to warn the coach that since they are out of timeouts, if the original decision is upheld, they will be charged with a loss of rally and a point will be awarded to the opponent. Judgment calls are not reviewable. If instead of asking for a rule clarification, a coach continues to insist on a decision review for a judgment call like ball handling, back row, or in-out and delays immediate resumption of play, they have earned an unnecessary delay. If a coach's action rises to an unsporting conduct level, they should be issued a yellow conduct warning. As with other sports under its umbrella, the Minnesota State High School League sanctions the use of referee headsets to aid match communication and improve game management. Officiating teams independently decide whether or not to use headsets. While we've completed the rules update and points of emphasis for this season, it's imperative that officials take a moment to review all the rules of volleyball. It is the responsibility of each official to prepare by reviewing all the rules of the game prior to the season. Some do this by rereading the rules book and casebook. For those of you that are more auditory learners, we annually update the rules review module by adding any new rules to the presentation found on the Minnesota State High School League Central Hub in Arbiter. Please take the time to watch this too.
Hi, this is Jason. I'm back to cover a few administrative reminders before concluding this module. The NFHS has a new digital publications platform called NFHS Digital. The NFHS Digital app is free to download, however, you would purchase the rules books or other publications through this app. You would go to nfhs.org/nfhsdigital to learn more about this particular platform. Again, the app is free to download and you would purchase the rules books or other publications through the app. Go to that site at the bottom of the screen to learn more about this platform. As mentioned on the previous slide, you would download the NFHS digital app via the App Store or Google Play for free, and then you would purchase the rules books or other publications via the app. Once you download the app and create your account, you will have a library where you can store and purchase other publications. This app allows rules books, case books, and other publications from the NFHS to be searchable. You can highlight and make notes and come back to it at any time. Again, go to the NFHS digital site to learn more and download the app from the App Store or Google Play. There are a number of new volleyball training videos available at nfhslearn.com. nfhslearn.com also has other courses that are not sports specific that you can learn from. We encourage officials to go to nfhslearn.com to learn more about these courses, including keeping score in volleyball, libero tracking. Also, there are videos available relative to using headsets, alignment. There are a number of courses available for volleyball officials, probably more than any other sport at the NFHS. So we encourage officials to take advantage of these learning opportunities. Again, go to nfhslearn.com to learn more. The NFHS Learning Center is home to more than 100 online professional development courses for everyone within the interscholastic community, including coaches, students, officials, parents, and administrators. More than 70 of these courses are available for free. Go to nfhslearn.com to create your account and to learn more about these courses. Over 21 million courses have been delivered via the nfhslearn.com platform. Many of these courses are really critical information that coaches, officials, parents, and administrators need to learn from. Again, go to nfhslearn.com to learn more about these courses and to register. The NFHS released 2 new officials training videos last season. This included basic signals and fundamentals of line judging and recommended best practices for the use of electronic headsets. You can go to nfhslearn.com to learn more about these courses and more. The coordinator staff for volleyball will remain the same for the 2025-2026 school year. Wayne Folkers is the state coordinator and regional coordinator for Northwest Minnesota. Doug Goodman is the coordinator for Southwest Minnesota. Tristan Severson will coordinate the southeast part of the state, and Doug Lothenbach is the Northeast Regional Coordinator. The coordinators for the metro area are Christina Fiebig and Robin Corshane. Contact your regional coordinator with any questions in regards to rules, officiating mechanics, or any other officiating related concern. Their contact information is available on the coach's dashboard and the Arbiter Central Hub page. Officials, please reach out to coordinators or association members or leaders if you have questions about Arbiter or officiating mechanics or rules. Please do not contact the league office first. Try one of these outstanding individuals to see if they can answer your question, and they typically can. And then if they cannot answer your question, then you can refer that on to the league. Again, their contact information is available on the coach's dashboard and the Arbiter Central Hub page.